Hello. I think Brad just turned on the, what's the sink thing called? What's it called? The garbage disposal in the rental. We don't own one of those, so he didn't know what it did. So I did not make the intro because I am out of town, and then I was trying to, and it was not working. So we are going old school and no intro. So I am coming to you live from Key West. And next to me is Rod. And then below me, both of these two have been on before. I have Troy from MountainManTreasure and Brandi from MyResellerTreasure. So I'm going to make them big, let them introduce themselves. We are starring your questions, so we will get to as many of those as we can. So here is Troy.
Hey guys, what's going on? Troy at MountainManTreasure. I don't know what to tell you. I think a lot of people in here already know me, but I am now a full-time reseller since the spring. Also have a small and slowly growing YouTube channel. So I'm glad that Kat had a spot and I could come and hang out tonight.
Perfect. Here's Miss Brandi.
Hi, everybody. I've been on here before, so I'm sure some of you know me, but MyResellerTreasure is my YouTube channel. I do sell on eBay, and I specialize in Barbie and vintage toys, both in the store and on my YouTube channel.
Perfect. So Brandi is like the go-to for Barbies and doll stuff, which I don't find that many. I actually was watching some that ended tonight, but they went too high. It was like vintage Barbies new in the box, but they were going super, super high. I all see the Key West. Yes. My only daughter turns 21 tomorrow. So she wanted to celebrate, and we come to the Keys. We used to come 3 to 4 times a year, but we never stayed in Key West because it is really kind of like party central down here. But we are on, like, when you first come into Key West, on the water, on the bay. But I didn't want her to have far to go if she wanted to go party on Duval Street. So that's why I decided to stay in Key West this time versus the Middle Keys where we normally like to stay because it's much quieter and less traffic. But here we are. All right. So Miss Diane wants to know, is there a way to search my active listings? I do not have a store. The top search bar yields everyone else's results, just not my listings.
I would think so, even without a store. Like if you go like straight to the app, you should. Mine has that top left, it says active.
I'm going to make you big, Troy. Can you hold your phone up for her?
Yeah, it'll probably glare. Let me turn it down a little bit. So like at the top there where it says active, and I know my numbers are skewed because I have multiple I have stuff listed in other countries on their eBay sites, but right there on active, if you click on that, that should bring up all of your listings. And then there's that find bar. Then you can type in there, and that should find it.
Perfect. Yeah,
I don't know how to do it on the Seller Hub offhand, but
I don't know if you can access the Seller Hub without a store. Maybe somebody without a store. If you use the Seller Hub without a store, tell us, because I'm not sure if you get the Seller Hub without a store.
I mean, if you click on any of just one of her active listings and click on seller's other listings, she should be able to see all of her listings as well.
Yeah,
I would think so. Does anybody here besides me sell jewelry?
No. Off and on, but.
And of course, the 1 week I am not at home where I can't like grab to show you. We use little bins with plastic bags that are numbered for a lot of it. And I have some in my cart because I'm buying some more, so I can show you that on Amazon. They're not super expensive. They're these little interlocking, they're called book bins. If you see, can you see them there? And then we get 4-inch plastic bags and we number them and keep them in there. And then I also have, the little craft drawers that are like rainbow colored. we number those drawers, and some jewelry lays flat on there as well. Oh, hold on. Rod, will you read that?
What a great panel. We just got a super chat. So
I have not coughed all day.
Oh, okay.
And now all of a sudden I'm coughing. And I told Brad, I'm like, I haven't coughed. And yeah. Miss Phyllis, thank you so much. I am going to give you a super dolphin. Let's do this one. Here you go.
This is from the last question right here.
Oh, okay. So Katrina says I don't have a store on eBay and I can see all my active listings on my phone, but can you go like on a computer? I think that's just in case she's not using the phone app, because I know not everyone does. Is that on the computer, Elizabeth? Or are you guys all looking on your phone? This is a funny question because Lynn and I have discussed this, because one of the tasks that I've delegated to her when hiring her as assistant is to answer the questions on eBay. So Molly wants to know, I love when buyers have questions, but do you find the buyers that ask a ton of questions are the ones that don't wind up buying?
I'm going to be honest. I get a little nervous when they start asking a ton of questions, because that tells me they're very particular, and that might tend towards very picky, and that might tend towards a problem down the road when they get the item. They're going to find something they don't want. They're going to complain. So honestly, if I get somebody that asks a whole bunch of questions and it makes me nervous, I just don't answer it. And then they go away. And, I hope that I will sell it later. I don't know if that's the right way to do it, but I don't want to tell somebody, hey, I don't want you to buy from me because I'm worried that you're a bad buyer. So I just ignore the questions, and the potential problem just disappears.
Just disappears. I find that it's kind of 50-50. It could be because I cater to a specified genre, adult toy collectors, so they kind of already know what they want and how to look for it. I do find that the cheaper items tend to get the most questions, and yes, those tend to be the pickier people than the more expensive items. But yeah, I get kind of half and half, so I can understand what Troy's talking about.
So I've been selling on eBay for over 20 years, and one thing I will say is when I get a lot of questions that are very specific from buyers, I draws a red flag a lot of times. So if they just ask me some random questions, I put a lot of pictures and I am very detailed if it comes to any damage or anything like that on my item. But if someone's asking me the questions like, is there any nicks or dents? And I mean, they're being so, very specific about things that something that genuinely no one would ever ask. At those points in time, I usually block the buyer, because there was a big scam going around many years ago where people, depending how you list your item, if you list it as like very good condition, like for example, like video game category, they have like a very good condition, and they'll ask me, is there any scratches or anything on the disc? And when it comes to the disc, you're going to have minor, tiny, hairline scratches on there that you're not going to be able to see. So that's usually, and then they'll get it in the mail, and then they'll end up filing a dispute on eBay. And at that point in time, an item's only $10. It's better off just let them keep it. So I found in the past it's better just block those and move on. But yeah, just like she said, they do bring up some red flags lots of times.
Yeah, so we actually last week, and I was the one dealing with it because I think it would have drove Lynn insane. I had somebody with a pair of pants. I talked about it on the show last week, the leather pants. She actually ended up buying them after asking me over 20 questions. I sold them to the annoying lady, and I thought I sold them to someone else, and it was really to the annoying lady. And then she got them, and she's like, they don't have a left back pocket. And I'm like, okay, like I didn't take the pocket off. So now she's asking me how to clean leather pants. And it's funny because I went and looked at the feedback she had left for other people, and almost all of it was for leather pants. Like, she's like, I love the leather pants. I love the, like, her whole feedback. That's what it looked like. So she ended up buying, and I'm like, I haven't responded on how to clean them because she obviously buys a lot of them, and I'm just like, I'm not gonna tell her, like, I want to say just to read the tag, but we found, I would say probably 30 to 40% that are asking the questions are buying. So that was where I was like, is it worth it to take the time to go and check these little details that they're wanting when under half of them are buying? So as of right now, we're still answering all of them. Some of them are clothing questions. And if you know me, I don't do measurements, but I am training my new listers to do armpit to armpit and like collar to hem, because that's the most common question. So they are doing those now on the newer listings. But it's like, we had somebody ask us to double check for stains, which it was a $30 item. If it was $10, I probably would have went with Troy and like ignored it. But for $30, we checked it. There were none, and they bought it. So sometimes it does. Have a drink on me, Kat. Enjoy your vacation. We actually have some here and we haven't drank them. And I'm not a big drinker, contrary to my whiskey for my coughing for the last few weeks. And I had one on the way down. We haven't even, so we're in Key West, but we haven't even made it to Duval Street, even though we're like 3 blocks over from it, because we got in late last night. And then today we went fishing. So let me give LK Vintage a dolphin, and we will make it to Duval. There's no way we're not going to Duval on her 21st birthday tomorrow. So I will have a drink on you. Thank you so much. Here is your dolphin. Dalton riding a dolphin. Look at Mike. Listen, all Mike cares about are teacups. I have not sold any, but they are still definitely selling very, very well. I'm going to give Mike has been on my show quite a few times. I'm going to give Mike the original dolphin. Mike, thanks so much. Super chat. If you guys hear Dalton laughing in the background, they're in my mother-in-law's room, which isn't far, and I think Brad is tickling him in there right now. So this kind of rolls into the question. Allison wants to know if I'm enjoying it. The photos look beautiful. We were enjoying it until today. I was telling all of the guests and Rod before we came live, and I was chatting with Rod while I was out in the ocean. We went on a charter today, and it was absolutely horrible. It was probably the worst charter I'd been on. And I was so excited. I brought my GoPro for the first time. I wanted to get some footage, and I did get a little bit of footage, but it was 2 to 4 foot waves. It was wind blowing. We caught 0 fish that we requested to catch, and Dalton and I got soaked and we were freezing. So it was rough, but tomorrow we will pick it back up, head to Duval Street. We'll go to Mallory Square for sunset, and Brooke wants to go on a ghost tour. So I think her and my mother-in-law are. And if you guys know Fab Frenchie Flippers, Vicky and Bill, who helped with my nurse slipper camps, they're actually coming. They might be here before the show is over. I invited them because we had an extra room. I also invited one of my other people from my camp, but she can't make it because I'm like, I'm already here. I'm paying for it. We have an extra room. So Vicky and Bill said, sure. And they're driving down, and they're going to join us and hang out with us the rest of the vacation. So we had a good start, a rough day today, but we're going to pick it back up tomorrow, and we're here till Saturday. So there's plenty of time to make up for the horrible experience on the ocean this morning. So we were not kings of the ocean today. There was no tuna. There was no mahi. There was not much. Huh? My mother-in-law is saying she enjoyed it because she was the only smart one that stayed home. She did not come with us. So while we were getting battered on the ocean, she was sleeping in our nice, comfortable Airbnb. And Brad is unhappy because that was the only thing he really wanted to do was fish. All right, Miss. After this, Rod, will you remind me? I have a question on my phone that somebody sent in on Instagram that I want to grab next. Janine said she's a fairly new seller. She had an item come back to her today. It said because of no mail receptacle. So what is her next step? She's searched eBay for help but hasn't found anything.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose you can reach out to that buyer and say, hey, it came back to me. This is why it said it came back to me. Sometimes they come back as a bad address or undeliverable or whatever. Generally, I'll get a hold of the person. If they actually write back, sometimes they don't write back, and I'll let it sit for a month and then just relist the thing because the people died or they moved or they, whatever. But if you get a hold of them, say, look, I can send this to you again, but I'm going to have you send me the postage again. Like, you're not going to be out the postage. That would be silly. So, generally I'll relist it and then refund them the original price minus shipping if it's a low dollar, or I think eBay lets you do it through PayPal probably because you'd already done the initial transaction through eBay. So you can get a hold of them and say, hey, look, if you pay the shipping, I'll ship it back to you. Otherwise, work on the refund, right? Like, give them the full refund and go from there. But like I said, often you don't even hear back from them.
Yeah, exactly what Troy said. Because very often you don't hear from them. And you just let it sit and just relist it after a while. And
yep. I mean, that usually happens to me too a lot. I mean, probably the most common thing I see is buyers move that are casual buyers and never update their address, and it gets sent and gets sent back. What I usually do is, because I don't think eBay allows you to make them pay for shipping anymore like that. I usually just tell them I'll relist it and then have them repurchase it with a new address so that everything goes through eBay, and then I send it out. I will issue a refund back to the buyer just for the shipping. I mean, not for the item only, and just not the shipping portion because it is their mistake. But I mean, just like them, I'll message the buyer a couple times. If they don't say anything, then I just let things be.
Listen, and I'm telling you this before I read the question, Rod, because of your shirt. So I have a good friend in Fort Myers, and I actually wrote her because she just posted some insane pictures of her Nintendo room in her house. So the whole thing is Nintendo themed, and she has hundreds of vintage Nintendo items. The whole room, it is like phenomenal. And so I messaged her and I'm like, I'm down in Key West on Saturday on my way back. Can I stop and make a video of your game room?
That's cool.
I said, I think that would be absolutely amazing. And she's going to tell her story because most of her stuff she got by flipping other stuff. So I am going to stop and make a video of her, and it's all Nintendo themed, of her Nintendo room on the way back. So not something I typically do, but this room is just like, it's insane. The walls, like the couch, it's crazy. So you guys listen, because I can't put this up on the screen because this was sent to me on Instagram. It says, I'm currently on eBay and Mercari. My main item I sell is hats. I was wanting to pick up another selling site. What do you think would be the best for hats? So they're already on eBay, Mercari.
Yeah, I mean, Poshmark, I guess, would be next on the list. I mean, just because of the size of the audience, you're going to, Depop, you can sell some hats and stuff like that. But I mean, just as far as the larger platform, I sell a lot on eBay, but then I'd look at Poshmark, I guess.
yeah, I would say the same thing. Poshmark would probably be the next largest platform.
I mean, I sell a lot of hats, and I mean, when it comes to hats, depending what types of hats they're selling, I'm assuming they're selling vintage hats. I'm assuming they're selling, they're all sports hats, everything like that. So it would have to be a clothing site. I would say Posh, or if it is any type of like vintage stuff, Depop would be good too as well.
Yeah, and Grailed or Depop.
Yeah.
We're going to be my two. I haven't really sold on there because I don't have a ton of stuff that sells on there. But I would say, yeah, if you want to go mainstream, then Poshmark's going to be the obvious answer. But if you want to hit more of those kind of niche buyers, then Grailed or Depop might be a place. If they're kind of vintage stuff, those would be.
Or I've actually done well with my hats. If I have an overstock, I've done well on Whatnot, actually. There's hat buyers are pretty good on Whatnot, actually.
Yeah, and I'm going to see too, because actually my friend who I'm doing the video, she said she's having a hard time selling, and they only sell on Mercari. That's the only place they sell. So I'm going to see what inventory they have, and I'm thinking Whatnot might be a good solution for them. They asked me if I'd look and kind of help them, like on what platform. And I figure if they're going to let me record their room in their house, I can give them some reselling tips and help them out. Miss Diane wants to know, do you wash or clean your items after sourcing?
I had a video on this today, actually. The thumbnail says, I'm a dirty reseller. It's actually, it's performing pretty well because it actually came, it was a weird, the way it happened, but I sold a pair of vintage made in Italy leather hiking boots. And when I pulled them out, I was just like, you know what? I don't want to clean that. They were the lug soles. And it's not a filthy bottom, but it's a dirty bottom on it. There's some dried mud on there and stuff. And it's a pain to clean those lug soles. And so I thought, you know what? These things are good enough. They'll sell on their own without me messing with it. I priced it under market because of, and there were some other condition issues, but I priced it under market, took pictures, showed them all, and just sold them like that. You know, I just sold them as is. I did get questions after they sold from the person saying, actually, it was almost a directive. They said, you know, please clean the soles before shipping. And I wrote them back and said, they will ship exactly how they appear in the listing. Because I didn't put the work in because I priced it lower. You know, I think
I saw you posted on Instagram about that, didn't you? I think I saw an Instagram post.
Yeah. And so I will clean a lot of stuff, you know, most stuff. If it's going to be complicated sometimes, if the product will sell itself, like a Carhartt code or something like that, I just let it go. You just have to look at the balance of your time. Is it worth how much more money I'm going to get to clean it versus the time I'm going to invest in clean it? What could I do? Could I list 5 more things? That's what I decided with the boots is I can list 5 more things rather than messing with the bottom. And they sold anyway. So it depends on the item. And, you know, ideally, yeah, clean it if you can. But I don't always.
Yeah, I would definitely agree about the value and time worth. You know, I'm not going to spend a bunch of time cleaning something that I'm selling that's $10, you know, as opposed to something that could be fetching me $300-400. You know, the more time I'm going to spend on it. And I do a lot of doll stuff, so I will spend some time steaming stuff out, but the main objective there is so they can see what it is. Really not trying to clean it up, but again, it's worth money. I will spend time. I will clean it, steam it, and get it up there.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Time is money. So, I mean, if an item's dusty, I wipe down all my items if there's dust on it, because I figure that's just the least I can do, and it literally takes 30 seconds to do that. If it comes to like high-end action figures, toys like that, I'll use some Goo Gone to clean off like the scuff marks and stuff like that off them, because that does increase the value of them, and when it is have a clean look to them. But overall, I mean, if it's only going to increase my value by $5-10, I'll sell it as is. I mean, if I'm going to spend, you know, 4 or 5 minutes clean something, I need to get, you know, $30, $40, $50 extra to do that. So just varies on the item.
Yeah, so for me, it really depends, like everybody else said, on the item. So like my hankies and linens, if they look dirty or I see stains, I will wash them. And it's funny because a lot of it had gotten mixed in with my laundry, because most times it's only like 2 or 3 things. So as I was like preparing to come here, I was going through the laundry and I had a stack like this of linens that had just got thrown in with my laundry, and I brought them all out to the shed to be listed. So stuff like that, I will, if they're newer, plush and dirty, I will, if they don't have a tag. So if items are new with the tag, I'm probably not going to wash them, because getting rid of the tag will lower the value and somebody might want to spot clean. I am not going to take the time to spot clean, I will tell you. But also license plates. Our license plates are covered in dust and dirt, and we don't clean one, and we have not gotten any negative response to that. I think it's because a lot of people use it for like rustic and barn and like man cave decor, so they don't care. So it really is kind of item specific. If it's glass, I will like use, most of the time I use a Clorox wipe. We have a bottle of Clorox wipes in the shed. We'll wipe it out. And then a lot of stuff gets dusty too in the sheds before we sell it. So we will again clean it before we ship it out because we don't want to send it like that. Most times though, like shoes, like Troy said, I've sold hiking boots like that too, like he was saying, where I just left it, showed a picture of it. And I typically mostly stay away from stuff that needs cleaned. And I'm sure a lot of people are saying in the chat, like, I don't like to clean anything. I can throw stuff in the washer, and that includes hats. I will wash hats. Yep. But
I'll
other than that,
too. Like I don't wash one hat. Like I'll wait, like this hat's dirty, I have a spot for it. And once I get like 6-8 hats, same with shoes, same with, I do it all at once.
Yeah, I stay away from shoes I need to clean unless it's the hiking boots. And I feel like people that are wearing them are going out hiking in the dirt and mud anyways, and they don't care. But most of them, like, I am not a shoe cleaner and restorer. Like, it's going to get listed how I found it. Shanae's Closet wants to know, how do you finance inventory, cash, credit, or a mixture of both?
Cash, I guess. I mean, I don't use any credit on anything. I'm not like Cat where I go and buy barns. You know, I don't buy enough where I would need to take out a line of credit to buy something. I'm looking at making a big deal right now. If it all works out with a guy, I was on the phone with him. You know, that's a multi-hundreds-dollar deal, but I've got enough money in my account from selling other stuff, you know, and it's just, you know, what I sell then funds what I buy.
Yeah, I don't use credit either. I started with cash, and I just rotate a certain amount right back into inventory right out of the business. So
yeah, I don't recommend using credit unless you're paying off your credit card, you know, at the end of the month, something like that. But don't roll over credit where you have to pay interest, because that's going to just eat away your profits. Mm-hmm. So the best thing is start out small, buy what you can buy, flip, take that profit and reinvest it back in the business. That's pretty much what everybody here in this panel has done, and what a lot of other resellers do. But that way you keep yourself debt free in regards to that, and you just keep building the business slow and steady.
Yeah, so I actually in the last month have used a mixture of both, and that's because I bought a ton of jewelry for Whatnot, and when I say a ton, I mean like $5,000 to $7,000 of jewelry. But our accountant said if you need to go on a shopping spree, do it, because if you make over $25,000 in profit the last 2 months, you're going to owe the government $8,000 more. So that is on there, and as it's selling on Whatnot, I'm paying it down. Plus, even so, we typically do pay the credit card every month, and as long as you're good about it, that's a good way to earn money. We earn about $300 to $400 in cash back on our business credit card, and we apply that towards, you know, our inventory. So typically until this last month, we pay it off at the end of the month, like Rod was saying, and then we apply. I actually will pay it off every week typically, but the accountant, like I said, it was either throw, you know, an extra $8,000 where we paid that and had that inventory just sitting, versus paying the government $6,000 to $8,000 because we were thrown into a higher tax bracket. So that will all be paid off by the end of January, and we won't. So I agree with him. Now, we did, like, I took an SBA loan to pay for my shed, not inventory, but to pay for the actual building, because it was like 3% interest during COVID. So we did do that, and that is almost paid off as well. So mostly probably 90% is cash. And that's why I tell people don't go buy just every little thing, because you want to stockpile it, because a lot of times when I buy it, it is $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, and I want to have that money there. So all right, Miss Teresa. said I had Dalton and Brooke are fighting on the couch if you hear them. Teresa said I had a package that came back to me because the buyer didn't put the apartment number. She wants me to send it back to her. And I think we kind of answered this, but we can go over it one more time. Should I ask her to pay the postage and should I go through eBay?
Yeah, if she wants it, she's got to pay the postage for it. I mean, that's not something that you should have to foot the bill for, that she screwed up the address, right? So absolutely, she's got to pay it. And then if she doesn't want to, that's fine. You just relist it. Somebody else, refund her the initial purchase price minus the shipping, and somebody else will buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
yeah, definitely make them pay. I mean, it was their mistake. So,
I mean, just like Troy said, every situation I run into like that, I do everything through eBay. So I just refund them the purchase price. I relist the item. I keep the shipping for the first item, and then just tell them to repurchase the item and make sure they update their address. That way you're covered. Everything went through eBay. You did the proper refund, and then you had the proper address to send it back. And then you would be covered under seller protection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I agree with that as well. Miss Rachel, aka Lily Works a Reseller, says I've had some international buyers buy multiple jewelry items. When I go to invoice them, it would not let me. It also would not let me combine orders to refund the difference. What can I do?
Let's see. Yeah, I know through global shipping you can't combine orders. And that's one of many check marks against global shipping. That's getting phased out now. I don't know where that's at. I know through eBay's standard international you can combine, and that's what I use, and let you combine the orders just fine. So if you ship through global shipping, I don't think there's anything you can do. Otherwise, even if it didn't combine the orders, I had somebody the other day in Canada buy a couple of things, and they didn't combine the order, but they were once I put them together, they were it was vintage pins. They weigh like half an ounce a piece. So I was able to combine them. I just refunded them the difference of the shipping. I'm not going to have them pay an extra $12 of shipping. So you can go in and refund it, combine it yourself and refund it, unless it's through global, and then they got to be individual.
Yeah, if you're doing just a regular international, which is what I use, you can kind of manipulate it to make it be what you want, because you can either do it in the invoice and just change the numbers, or if it won't combine it, or you can just refund them the difference, because you're already going to do the label in the package, so you know what it's going to be, and just do it either one of those ways. I'm pretty sure I've done it either of those ways, because I've refunded somebody before that's bought multiple items, internationally. So outside of that, contact eBay. Maybe they can see why that's happening. But
yeah, I mean, I only ship through international through the global shipping program. I've been burned too many times internationally, so I just go through that. So I have my seller protection. And, when you do that, the buyer pays 2 shipping charges. They pay domestic shipping charge, and then they pay eBay an international shipping charge to ship it out. And unfortunately, there's nothing you can really do in those situations. The buyer, they bought it through the global shipping program. They had to follow the global shipping program rules. And, we just had to ship it out like that. So.
And we lost.
All right, sorry, it was a little crazy. No, everybody is out here. You can hear Dalton. I actually had the same thing with eBay Standard International, and I told them I would combine it, and then I couldn't. So I ate the $15 for that one, and I shipped them separate. But now I think if somebody asks me again, I'll probably just make them a custom listing, because I think with global shipping and eBay Standard International, it would not let me combine them. So and this was probably not even 2 weeks ago, so it was pretty recent that happened to me. So for me, I think I would make them, and it's annoying because you're going to have to make them like a special listing, unless you're shipping it yourself, and you can combine them. But with using the 2 that eBay offers, I had issues with it and actually lost money on something because I had told them, like I verbally said, yeah, I can combine them because I thought I could, and it would not let me. Miss Bridget, and I saw another question similar to this as well, wants to know what is your top category in sales? And she's not giving us a specific time, so I don't know if we want to, say recently or overall what we sell the most of.
I'm not sure. I know you can go into your seller hub and it breaks it down in there somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, it would be vintage. I sell a little bit of everything, so it's hard to say. I could guarantee it would be something vintage, but I probably vintage toys of some kind, I suppose. But I sell movies and games and hiking boots and I mean, who knows what.
Well, mine would be dolls, and then secondary vintage toys. Are the top categories I sell in.
Yeah, for me, it actually rotates depending on the time of the year and what I'm selling. I do sell like the fourth quarter. I sold a lot of video games. Right now, I'm selling a lot of slot cars because I had just spent $2,000 on a huge slot car lot. So that's been my, this month I've been selling a ton of those. So it really just varies, but mostly between toys, video games, and then electronics.
Yeah, so for me, it's the same as Rod. So it fluctuates throughout the year. Like when I bought that lot of 1,100 license plates for 2 months, our top selling thing was license plates because we had listed so many. And the same with the Harley pins. It really depends on what I'm sourcing and what we're listing a lot of. We're going through some more of our Longaberger basket liners. So Longaberger is spiking back up again for us because we're getting more Longaberger listed. So for us, it seems like whatever we list like a mass lot of, that will go to the top until it, the fast selling stuff kind of wanes down and then it'll switch again. Rating Retro, North Carolina. I've decided I want to get out of selling jeans. I don't have a social media presence. Any idea of how to find someone to buy them all?
I mean, you could always go local my local, if you list it on Facebook, people want stuff cheap, but if you just want it gone, I'm sure somebody would do that. You can put it, I've used wholesale a couple of times. I'm still playing with it and trying to figure it out, but that'd be another avenue where you could put it on, or you want to piecemeal it. There's Whatnot. Really depends on what you want to get out of it and how quickly you want it gone.
Yeah, I guess it depends on, you just want it out of here, because I see people post things on Facebook Marketplace, reseller lot, I'm getting out of the business, or whatever it is they're saying, come take it all. Or I guess you can go through, Whatnot is another option. Or you can do it on eBay. People buy reseller lots on there too.
Yeah.
I would say if you don't have a big social media presence, I would try locally and Facebook. All Facebook has local marketplaces or local groups in your area. If you search resellers or reseller groups, you could probably find some resellers in your area or clothing groups in your area, and just take good pictures of it, list it up there, and probably sell it local.
Yeah, so I agree, you could try wholesale. If they're good name brands, I think they would move on there. If they're not really popular name brands, they might not move as fast. Poshmark also has a section for wholesaling, but you got to remember anything over 5. That's grandma this time. You hear Dalton, grandma. Anything over, normally I'm out in the shed by myself when I do this live, just FYI. Anything over 5 pounds on Poshmark, you're paying extra for shipping, and 10 pounds is like $22. So I would maybe list 5 pound lots on Poshmark. That might be a really good way to put it, and put it as reseller lots on there. But Brandi's right. You can list reseller lots on eBay, like fill up a large, flat rate box so the weight's not, horrible on there as far as shipping. And that might be a good way to move them. And Facebook groups. Rod's right. You could find local Facebook groups offer it. Maybe a flea market seller might want them in your local area that goes to the flea market. Or you could even go to the flea market if you see somebody selling stuff like that. But I would say I would think like at the flea market where I am, jeans are going for $1 or $2. So I wouldn't expect to get more than like 50 cents to $1 for them that way. So if they're good name brands, I would try one of the other avenues. Miss Shanae again wants to know, which cross listing app do you recommend? Flip, Vendu, or List Perfectly, or if there's another one that you use?
I used Flip a little bit, but mostly I don't cross list just because I know myself. And I started originally, I was cross listing to Poshmark and Mercari from my eBay stuff, but then I'd all of a sudden see a like on something that I realized I sold that like a week and a half ago. I was really bad at pulling it off of one site when it sold on another. And I didn't want to get myself in trouble with that or have the double sale. So I just focus on eBay. Now, randomly, I'll put something on Mercari, but 99%, I just sell it on eBay.
Yeah, I just sell mostly on eBay. I sell only on eBay right now. I don't sell anywhere else. I have used Vendu and List Perfectly. I did like them in the past. So if that's something you're looking into, I enjoyed both of them, but I don't cross list right now this time. So
I would say List Perfectly, and Kat uses List Perfectly as well. And we are actually going to be doing a meetup together on Wednesday the 18th with List Perfectly.
A week from tomorrow.
That's right.
We will be Rod, myself, I think Vicky and Bill, who they should be here before the end of the show, and they'll probably pop in and say hi to you guys. They're going to be there. There are quite a few people who have told me they're going to be there. So I know I saw that. I think they have a limited space, and I think it is almost filled up. So if you use List Perfectly and you're in the Tampa area, I'm about 2 hours away. I would sign up. It's free food, free drinks. It's a listing party. Why would you not go? But I use List Perfectly. I've used them for 2 years. Anybody who watches me knows I'm like List Perfectly. And that's because that's who I use. So I did try Vendu for a short time. But when I tried them, they didn't list to Facebook Marketplace, and I just didn't like the setup. I have not tried Flip because I've been with List Perfectly 2 years. So when I have something that's working really well in my business, I'm not going to go because something new comes along. If it's been working well for years, I'm going to stick with it, and that's what I'm doing. But yeah, you guys should come see me and Rod a week from tomorrow. I am like traveling all over the place. Like this month, I'm everywhere.
Kat, does List Perfectly do does it pull it down yet, the automatic?
So it's actually pretty cool, and I'm not in it, but I see Caroline in there. Actually, I see Caroline in the chat right now. Caroline, who's in the chat, she messaged me and showed me, and they have started, you have to give them permission because the only way they know items are sold is if they're constantly pulling in your sold data from all those platforms. So you have to give them the permission to, check your platforms multiple times a day. So they have got it to where now your sold listings will come up, and then you just click a button so you're not having to search for them. So it's actually showing you the sold listing, but that's the first step in getting it to be automated. So they are working on it. I haven't beta tested that. So right now, as long as you list from the catalog, then you just you select the item and tell it to end it, and it ends it on all platforms. So it's not like you have to go to each one. You just pick the item, tell it to mark it sold, and List Perfectly knows which platforms it is out on, and it will go and pull it down.
Once they auto delist, I'm in. But I know myself, I can't.
From what I've heard, it's that close.
I do use Web Interpret, which I guess is a cross listing platform.
Yeah, because I got too confused. I tried. Troy uses them, and it goes they post on the individual country's eBay, and they translate it and everything. And I tried, and I was just like, and I turned it off. I did try it. Let's see. Miss Sue says she got a notification that she'll be switched to the new international shipping. Are any of us using it yet?
I haven't. Just because I I like eBay's Standard International, the newer, older. It's a couple years old now, I think. It was the other option than global shipping, and I sell way more with that than I ever did with global shipping because global shipping is so expensive. You're never going to sell a T-shirt or, this weekend I sold a small little dinosaur from Jurassic World for $15 on to Turkey through eBay's Standard International. That would never sell on global shipping because it would be too expensive. So I use the Standard International, and I've done very, very well with it. But I've not used the new setup, so I can't really speak to that other than I know they're phasing out, at least in name, global shipping.
Yeah, I don't use their global shipping program either. I do Standard International or first class international packages. So I don't know. I obviously I haven't got the notification because I don't use that, and I can tell you that I've had good experience with the shipping that I do use for international. So,
I mean, I'm still in the global shipping program, so I haven't switched over yet. I'm sure I will once I get the notification to do that. But
Yeah, and I haven't got the notification either that I'm aware of. I use both right now. I use global and standard. I use global for my really expensive things, and I use standard if it's cheaper. But I haven't gotten the notification that I'm switching. So, Miss Susan says, I paid too much for a Puma cap. I just sold it for $19.96. I paid too much for $7.96. The offer was $2 under my price plus. I'm assuming she means free shipping, like they didn't pay shipping. Yeah. I accepted. Now I've made no profit. How do I prevent this?
Charge shipping? I mean, or pay less. I mean, you make your money on the buy, right? I mean, that's when you're going to, like you said, you paid too much for it. So it really comes down to having to source things at a low level. I mean, I guess that sounds very simple, but I don't know what else to say other than that.
No, it is pretty simple. Yeah, you just got to pay less and know what you're going to want for it, and definitely charge shipping and keep that profit up.
Yeah, I mean, just like everyone else said, pay less, but also too, make sure you're doing the proper research before you do purchase the item. If because you may have just bought on the whim and just end up eating it. I mean, this is what I call paying for an education. We have all done it. We have all taken a loss. We have all broken even. You just got to minimize those mistakes going forward, and that's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah, and I don't think you can totally prevent that. I still do that, and I've been reselling off and on since '99 because a lot of times in the thrift stores, there'll be no signal, and I'm like, oh, I know that'll sell. I pick it up, and it was a bad buy. And I try and share those with you guys. And I actually, when you're doing your research, make sure you're doing it on the right item. And just an example, because Lynn and I have been going through, I got a bunch of McFarlane toys. And when we comped it, we comped the 18-inch price, and the one I bought was a 6-inch. So I actually paid more than it was worth. But I ended up like maybe losing $5, and I was happy with that. But that taught me, because I don't know toys that well. So I'm thinking like, this is the figure that I'm buying. This is it. I didn't know there's a small one and a big one. So make sure like with your example, the Puma cap, like there are going to be some Puma caps that aren't going to sell for, $10, but there might be some like yours that sell for 20. There are probably going to be some that sell for 30. So you really need to try and find the exact one, because if that was a $50 cap, then that would have been perfectly okay to pay $8. Mm-hmm. But not all of them are. So I buy really, really cheap. Troy said it first, like you make your money on the buy. So that's why I like buying lots, because I get stuff really, really cheap by buying in quantity. So you could try and do that. But I would research, and you're going to learn. You're going to keep making I feel like anybody that says they don't still make mistakes is not telling the truth, because I'm very experienced at it, and I still make mistakes. It's part of the business. I'm happy when it sells because I'm like, at least I got my money back, you know, and then I move on and I remember next time not to do it again, but I'm going to do it again with something else, I'm sure.
Yep.
All right. Susan wants to know, do you know how much money you make on each item, or is it approximate, and how often do you go negative? Which is kind of linked to that last question.
Yeah. I mean, I don't lose money that often. You know, I mean, every once in a while, like Kat said, we all make a bad buy, and you hope you can break even or minimize your loss if the thing sells. But I don't know how much I make on each item. When I first started, I would track it and I would put exactly how much I spent on each item. And then I realized I was just giving myself more work than what I needed. You know, I know that I paid less for it than what I sold it for. And when I do that over and over and over, I make money. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's how I do it.
Yeah, and I being that I sell a lot of dolls and a lot of doll smalls and clothes and things, I buy things in bulk a lot. So, you know, I literally just, you know, count up. It's 100 items, 25 cents each. I'm happy with that. And I'm just well over that. There's probably 1,000 items in each bin, you know. And my main goal is to find an item in there that's just going to pay for what I just bought. And then everything else is profit. That's always my main goal with those, because I do so many bulk buys. But yeah, it's an approximate. It's pretty much an approximate.
I sell thousands of items each year, so I'd be wasting too much time if I was tracking every single item. The best way to track it is when you do your initial buy. So if you're buying low, like my minimum is I need to get 100% profit on an item. I need to double my money, or I won't be purchasing the item. It's just a waste of time. I need those higher margins because I do like to run sales in my store, and I know that, you know, at any point in time I can run a sale and I still won't lose money. You know, sometimes I'll take 60 cents on the dollar instead of taking 100% profit on that item, but I'm still making a profit each time. The only time I ever lose money on items, and I probably lose money on items every year, is when I have dead inventory that's been sitting in my store for 6 months, and I just keep reducing it and reducing it. At that point in time, I don't even care. I'll sell for what it sells for and move on. But that's only a fraction of my business. So, I mean, that might be 2% of my business for the entire year. And at that point in time, I break even. I consider that a win. I'm just getting the merchandise out of my store, out of my inventory, and bringing fresh inventory in, and just to make less mistakes.
Yeah, so for me, I just estimate it because we do money in, money out. So I, like, when I'm doing my what sold videos, I'm estimating it in my head. I figure like 20% for fees plus my costs. And I have buyer paid shipping on everything. As far as how often do I go negative, probably I would say like Rod, like 1 to 2% of the time. It's really, really low, but it does still happen. And then Cicely, I know Rachel Lily Works is in the chat. Does anybody on the panel use Posh VA?
No, I bailed on Poshmark because I got so tired of the time investing in the sharing and the constant. Yeah. It wasn't worth it to me. I could use that time better. So I just bailed on Poshmark.
Yeah, I don't use Poshmark.
Yeah, I don't use it either. But
you see my eyes? I had another coughing fit. And I have not coughed once today. Cyclone. Oh, Sunny's a member. What? Sunny is a member. Welcome. All right, Sunny, you get the cool dolphin. I did get some cool dolphin footage. That was the one positive out of the crazy rough seas today. We had like a whole pod of dolphin, probably like 15 or 20, like swimming under and around the boat today. I guess they like the rough seas. We did not. All right, Sunny, here is your dolphin.
Welcome to the flipping family.
Yay. All right, Cyclone Scrapper said, is it better to do auctions on eBay to start out or no?
No. We can expand on that, I guess, but no is the answer, depending on the item. It's very item dependent. You are going to find some items that are going to do better on auction, selling Barbies. There are some Barbies that they're so rare and they're so in demand. I had a friend actually here in town. He bought some vintage Barbies a while ago. He just came across one of them that wound up in the bottom of his box a while back. He's like, oh, I couldn't believe I found it. He listed it at auction for, it was like $200. He had 43 watchers inside of an hour. That's the sort of item where, yeah, that's going to work because there's so many people. But mostly, for most things you find, auction isn't, list it high if it's a good deal. List it higher than maybe it's going to sell for. Enable offers and see what happens. That's generally what my method is.
Yeah, just do buy it now, list it high. Auctions, really not to start out. It's better to start out by searching these solds and just listing these buy it nows or best offers till you get a little more into it. And like Toy said, just you'll figure out what really deserves an auction. What's going to pull those buyers in, or once you get into the game, what just doing auctions to have people come into your store, getting the traffic in, but probably not to start out.
So when eBay first started out, it was auction only. And there's a reason why they switched to buy it now format, because first off, if you go online to buy something, you don't want to wait 5-7 days for that auction to end. You want to buy right now.
Yeah.
Also, too, is you can get a higher premium for an item with a buy now than you can with an auction, unless it's an exception, something that's extremely rare or something that you just can't find a comp for. So the only reason times I would ever use auction, if it's an item that's rare, that you have no idea how to price it, start it up low and let it ride. Or if you have a lot of items that you just want to get rid of, throw it up in an auction. You just want to move it out and take whatever you get at that point in time. But most of the time, stick to buy it nows is going to be the best way for you, because you can price it then. You can put offers on it, price high, put offers on it, and then people just send you offers.
And just
Yeah,
rare.
I think everybody kind of covered it.
Yeah.
It's harder when you're new. It's really hard when you're new to determine what should be an auction and what shouldn't. I would say, like, a lot of the research videos I do, they will be auctions because those are higher dollar rare items. So I would say the only time as a new seller I would recommend doing it is if you're seeing high solds that are auctions of the same item. So like with the teacups, I don't know if Mike's still here, but I got to use the teacup restaurant reference. Why am I saying maybe I'm hungry. If it, like with the teacups, if I find like an Ainsley, like a cabbage rose, those are really high dollar. And the big thing, if you do decide to run one, start it at the lowest amount you're willing to take. Like I would run an Ainsley and start it at $500 and hope that I would get $600, $700, $800. But if I got 500, I would be okay. So I think that's the main key, because a lot of people will see bigger sellers that do have social media presence starting items low and getting big money. But if you don't have that social media presence and following, your item might sell for 99 cents. And, then you're going to be upset. So I would say in the beginning, I would go almost all buy it now.
And when you look on if you use TerraPeak, if you look on TerraPeak, it will show you that shows you the listings or the solds over the last year. It'll also tell you whether it's sold at auction or buy it now. So you can see, because there are some items that will sell more at auction for whatever reason. You can look at the trend that way. And so before you go in and list it, you can find out, and I do. There are rare examples of things where you can actually list things for. I listed my Dark Tower game, 99 cents free shipping, because I knew it would bring in a whole boatload of people. I wasn't worried about losing money on that. And there are some times where that 99 cent, you get so many people involved that they get emotional.
Well, and then they're invested. They think it's theirs after they're bidding.
That's mine. And so they fight each other over it. Sometimes, but that's not the norm. That it does,
and that's hard for a new reseller, because they might think they have something to do it, and then they're going to lose money. So, being new is I think main key point with that. Mark OGNZ, said, all-star panel. Question, what's your most successful place or way of sourcing for long-term success? And he's saying everybody already knows what mine is.
Yeah, garage sales. Honestly, I love going to garage sales. You can find, I feel like you can find more bulk at garage sales, like more items to fill at garage sales, but you can sometimes find the better items at estate sales because they've already kind of curated whatever their collection is. They've got the good stuff there. So sometimes you can find better stuff at estate sales, but I find more stuff, and you never know what you're going to find at garage sales. Though, like I say, I'm working on a deal right now where the guy's got a bunch of 10 and 12 cent comic books. I found the listing on Facebook. I got to see if the deal works out. But talking with him on the phone today, he was also like, well, I'm busy today because I'm selling my Harley. And so that opened up I was like, well, you're selling a Harley. Do you have Harley t-shirts that you're getting rid of too? Yeah, I think I've got like 30, 40 of them stashed somewhere. So those things happen too, where you find somebody has one thing, it turns out they've got more and more. So there are lots of ways to do it. It just depends. Garage sales is the umbrella answer though for me.
For me, I'd probably say estate sales. I do a lot of the vintage Barbie stuff on the estate sales, online or in person, either one. And secondary to that would be garage and yard sales.
For me, I would say private picks are the best because you have no competition. You're one-on-one. You can take as much time as you need. You can do research and go through everything. But a lot of those private picks do come from garage sales. So I would say for me, my number one sourcing place is garage sales. You're going to spend the least amount of money. You could hit as many tons of garage sales in one day. And it's great for networking because if you do find something, always the biggest thing I tell you, go to your garage sale, the power of the ask is the biggest thing. Ask them what you're looking for. Do you have vintage shirts? Do you have sports cards? Do you have video games? Do you have comic books? The questions I ask anytime I go to do band shirts, like based on the items they have there, you can get a good understanding of what they may potentially have. And that will open up doors to a lot of private picks.
And get a business card.
Yeah, and mine is auctions, but I agree with everybody. It's just hard if you're like me and you live rural. I have to drive an hour to get to garage sales at least, and then I have to hope that they're worth driving that hour too. So like in my local area, there's not a ton of them. Sometimes there are, but not a ton. And I actually, in probably 3 or 4 videos ago on my catch treasure hunting, they're playing with the light switches. 3 or 4 videos ago, I bought somebody's hats off the wall in the garage that were not for sale. I'm like, hey, do you want to sell me some of those hats that are hanging there? And they actually gave me most of them for free. He's like, oh, you can have some of them. So I didn't even pay anything for a lot of them. So I agree. And especially if I'm taking Dalton with me, like driving an hour to is like, by the time we get there, he's like all grumpy and doesn't want to go look through stuff. So that's why auctions is the easiest for me. I can look at it online, pick what I'm wanting, and then I just drive and go pick everything up. Yeah, Brad's saying until I forget to bid. There's the birthday girl. She's turning 21 tomorrow. Hiding behind me there. So
she yells at me when her microphone's off.
Because she's being loud. Look, she came to tell on me. She did that on purpose. Everybody has vacated because I kept hiding and being like, tone it down. So now nobody's in the living room. They've all dispersed, except for Brad in the kitchen being loud. Let me give Mark his dolphin, and then I see we have 2 more super chats. One amazing one from my good friend Chris. So here is your dolphin, Mark. Thank you. Amy over at Edge City Trader sent a $9.99 super sticker. Thank you, ma'am. Here is your dolphin. Yay! Now, Mr. Christopher.
Yes.
Chris said, Me Chit enters the chat while being lowered from the rafters and tossing $20 bills and waving, just showing support. A great panel tonight. As always, Chris, thank you so much. I appreciate it very, very much. Here is your Dalton. Dun, 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 dun. All right. What do we have next? Miss Eileen, this is a fun question. Name something you repurposed and used for your reselling business. She's saying, for example, she used a paper towel holder to hold all of her tapes.
I don't know. I mean, I use an old drafting table to put my bubble wrap and wrap stuff on. But I don't know if that's quite to the level of paper towel holder for tape or not. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, honestly.
I actually use a two children's table as my photo table. It's just covered with a white tablecloth. It's like one of those Lego tables, has a big hole in the middle. They're the kindergarten, the old school wooden ones that we sat at. The wooden tables, there are two of those. Yeah. And I love repurposing, using stuff for new stuff. I used one of those plastic those shoe things you would put on the door and put your shoes in, that had the poles in it. I used to use it for certain wrapped in paper just to hang it off so I could quickly pull the shipping paper off and wrap up stuff and ship it, things like that.
I reuse the 728 boxes from Amazon that my fiance has delivered to my house, and I reuse those all the time. So I have boxes for days.
So the biggest thing we repurposed, and if you've been watching me a while, you know, we, from an online auction, bought a front retail counter out of a University of Florida Gator, like a Gator gear, and that is our shipping counter. So it's kind of cool because they had like their bags and all their stuff in the box and, you know, underneath the counter. So now that's where all of our boxes are. And it's a big L shape. So in my big shed, I bought that big retail. Yeah, Brad's saying it worked out good, and it did. Big retail counter. It's a big L. It's like probably 20 on one side and 6 or 8 foot on the other. And it is, so the part that would have went towards the customer is against the wall. So we have like their back end and all of their little holes and cubbies and drawers, and even an opening for the trash can, which is kind of cool. So it's like the perfect shipping counter. Is there anything else we've repurposed to use for the business?
Yeah, that curtain.
Well, I use the stainless steel shelving units that they use in restaurants on wheels. Those work great because I have them in my garage. I can actually move those around back and forth. You can actually buy them at Sam's Club too, but you can actually look online for those. Those work great for your business and to maximize space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brad said we have some big ones too. And then we also, our photo paper for when we photograph clothes or scarves on the mannequin, it's on a curtain rod. So we put the roll of photo paper on a curtain rod and we can pull it. And then as it gets like dirty or folded up, then we just cut it off and roll out some more. Larry sent a $5 super chat and said Terra Peak now goes back 2 years, but you have to hit a drop down to extend it. I was going to say, like, it's good. I'm glad to know Troy said that, because I'll tell you guys, I don't ever use Terra Peak because I'm so used to going to Worth Point. But knowing that Terra Peak shows if it was auction or buy it now is nice to know. My big thing with Terra Peak of why I don't like it is it doesn't show photographs. So I want to make sure I'm looking at like the same exact item. And so them not having photos is kind of a deterrent for me. Oh,
It
let me
also
give Larry
shows whether it was free or charged shipping. So you can see that.
So it adds a little more. So maybe if I find it on Worth Point, then I could kind of cross check it. If it was in the last 2 years, see, I get a lot of stuff that hasn't been sold in the last 2 years is the problem. So, and Worth Point doesn't tell you if a best offer was accepted or like the shipping or anything like that. But if that's the only info you've got, you know. All right, Larry, let's give you this one. Thank you so much. What? I was dancing. So Blockhead Arts, which we actually had the pleasure of meeting her. Brooke is choking. I guess I can't yell at her for that. But she's laughing as she's choking. Do you need a drink? You have a Coke right there. You may have alcohol because in 3 hours you will be 21. Okay. Sorry. Anyways, so we had the pleasure of meeting her at Renninger's in November, and she gave Dalton a really cool piece of artwork for his door. So how warm is it in the Keys? It is not. Troy, however, below me, Troy will disagree because he's in Montana where it gets negative 40 degrees. It is.
I think it was 31 today. It was really nice. It was t-shirt
Well,
weather.
I can look it up, but it's like mid to high 60s. But the wind is, I think, 10 to 12 miles an hour right now. And I actually looked for while we're here, and it's getting higher and higher. It's going to be like 20 miles an hour the day we leave. So that makes it. And today, what made it so cold is I was covered in the ocean. Brooke's laughing because one wave got me and Dalton like
That one was legit.
it was me and Dalton are sitting there and it was like washed over the whole front of the boat, and me and Dalton are sitting, and yeah, it was. I'm like, I just shake my head like, what can I do? They were behind the captain and behind the plexiglass. Me and Dalton were up front. So it's in the 60s, but it's comfortable during the day when the sun's out, but with the wind blowing on the water, it's cool. It's cool at night. We normally come down here more in the summer. So that we're used to like 80s, 90s. Then we haven't been down in January. All right. Are there any overlooked details newbies should do before starting to resell on eBay that hasn't been mentioned? She said definitely the separate bank account, but would you recommend a P.O. box? And she's saying, I don't want to be found by strangers.
Yeah, P.O. box is started, and Mountain Mama, being infinitely smarter than I am, said, especially with you having a YouTube channel, you should probably, I don't want people knowing our address. I said, you know what, you're probably right. I don't remember the cost, but it's very, very low to get a P.O. box for an entire year. And you don't have to buy the gigantic one thinking, well, I'll get returns and I need boxes. You buy the small one, they'll put a little key or a card in there if you get something that doesn't fit in the box. So there's no reason to buy the bigger one. You just buy a small box, have the P.O. box as your return address, and you're good. So yeah, I think that would be a good thing to do.
Yeah, you said yes to separate bank account, and P.O. boxes are good. Some people have them, some people don't. I think it's just a preference. Like Troy was talking about too, safety also if you have a big social media presence. So yeah, if that's the way you want to go, yeah, definitely do that. I don't know. We talked about a lot of other new stuff because there was a lot of other new questions, but can't think of anything else right now other than buying a scale. I don't think we talked about that, but I'm sure we've talked about that in other videos. Most of us talk about that's important because that's usually the number one way you start losing your money, by not knowing how the shipping works. So I would definitely take time and learn that and buy a scale.
Yeah, I would say scale. Make sure you have a scale that has the little that it comes off to the side, which actually shows you everything. Not a scale that actually shows you on the scale. Have the separate piece that comes off that actually shows you the weight, because when you get big boxes, you're not going to be able to. I did that mistake in the very beginning. I bought a scale that didn't have the side piece.
And then you can't see it when the box is on.
Yes, you can see it. So I just ducking underneath it, trying to figure out what it is. Make sure you have a tape measure, because if you're using boxes, you want to make sure the proper measurements on your listings. I measure mine before I actually put them on eBay. I would say before though you go on eBay, make sure that you go on as a buyer and get about 10 positive feedbacks as a buyer. Buy stuff small for $1 or $2. Perfect scale right there. Just so you show there. Yep. Yeah, mine's downstairs. I have the same exact one actually.
Yep.
But make sure.
Yeah, that's the same one I have too.
Make sure you go
Yeah,
on eBay.
I don't like as far as strangers finding you. I mean, you could get a PO box, but I'll tell you, before I had social media, we did not have a PO box. I just got it when I started getting social media. So when I was just selling on eBay, I just put my address. I mean, I don't know why they would want to find you unless you're selling like hundreds of thousands of dollar items. I don't think people are gonna try to find you, but I think everybody covered the basics, and you'll kind of learn as you go. You know, newer stuff's gonna pop up. It's kind of hard because for every new reseller, it's not gonna be the same thing depending on what you're selling, on what you might need that will help you so much.
PO box is not expensive. You can get one for like $150, $175 the entire year, and it doesn't have to be through the post office. You can also go to like FedEx. You can go to like those postal shipping stores. They
have the street address ones. Yeah.
So you can. There's a bunch of different options that you do have. You
do not have that if you live in rural Florida. I will tell you, you only have the option of a PO box. There's nothing like that.
They don't have street addresses there. Let's just turn it the big tree.
Yeah. Just go down the road. Vicky said she purchased high dollar Nike Air Jordans on eBay. They go from $800 to $1,200. Would you do buy it now or auction? She paid $200.
I mean, it depends. I guess we talked about it before. It kind of depends on how many are listed versus how many are sold. You know, if there are 5 listed and 82 sold, that's going to be a pretty good sell through. There's some demand. It also depends on the size, right? There are some variables. So that just generically makes me a little bit nervous to run an auction. I would price it high and put a best offer on there and see what happens, especially if nobody has your size. Then I would price it high on a buy it now.
Yeah, I would definitely do a buy it now, price it high. I mean, you already know it's a high dollar item. There's no reason in beating around the bush. Just stick it up there, high dollar. Take that best
size
offer.
9.5, I guess. I don't think that's a small. That's a common size. That's a good size.
I think the thing that bothers me though, and that would worry me a little bit, is you spent $200 on shoes that are $800 to $1,200. Before you list those, use one of those third-party authentication apps that you can actually authenticate those shoes and make sure they are real. There are a lot of great fakes when it comes to Nikes. I've actually purchased fake Nikes before, and I could not tell unless I went through the verification apps. And do that to protect, especially the high-end items like that. Do that to protect your account first and foremost, because you don't gotta keep getting all those red flags on your account. But what I would do is just list it high with a buy it now and let the offers come in, because people are going to try to lowball you anyway, and then you can decide on how, because you still have 24 to 40 hours to decide if you want to accept that offer.
Yeah, and they automatically, like if shoes are over a certain amount, they have to be verified through eBay.
So how it works is you have to ship them to eBay. If it's over $100 in Nikes, Adidas, you ship them to eBay, and they're going to verify them if they're real. But there's before you list them on eBay, so you don't go through, get your account flagged, or because if you get too many marks of selling counterfeit shoes or fake shoes, you're not going to be able to sell shoes on eBay anymore. So there's third-party apps you can actually download. It costs you like $2-3.
Yeah, check like $5.
Yeah, check. There's a couple other ones too that you can use, and just take a bunch of pictures of them, submit the pictures, and they'll let you know if they think they're real or not. So it's just a good way to protect yourself, especially in a high-end item like that, because the last thing you want to do is get issuing a refund for $1,200 or $800.
Yeah, that can be hard. I would be scared to have paid like $199 for Nikes. I don't know that I would have, just because there's fakes. I would have been scared. So
also,
yeah. Brad's saying if you knew enough. So like if you're specializing in shoes and you can really like, you know how to tell, but me, I don't sell enough. I would have been scared to spend that much. So I would want to get them authenticated, because like you don't want to get in trouble on eBay and not ever be able to sell shoes again, or, you know, like have that kind of mark on your account if they aren't real, unless you got them from a Nike store. Like, you didn't say where you got them. Maybe they're selling, you know, they're a rare shoe and you got them from like a Nike store.
Also, too, is a big thing I'll tell you is when you make sure you put the condition of the box in your listing, because they will reject it through the verification process, even if the shoes are real, if you didn't indicate any type of damage to the box when you do ship them out. So I had a buddy get popped on what's the other StockX. He sold an Xbox on there and it had a dent in the box, and even though it was real, they shipped it back and denied him on it.
Yeah, that's good to know for sure. Sue wants to know, does eBay randomly delete old listings? I had a few just fall off the face of eBay.
I found a couple today, actually. And well, I found one the other day and I pulled it out thinking, I wonder if that's still listed. I haven't seen any attention on it or whatever. And then I bought a dozen Cutco steak knives a while back. Parted them out and they were selling for like $30 a piece. And then I was going through one of my bins to pull something else, and I saw there was one tucked in the very bottom of the bin. I thought, that's weird. Why hasn't that sold? Because they sell very well. And I got on there and there's no Cutco anywhere in my store. I don't know why, because I individually listed all of them. It wasn't a quantity mistake because they all had Post-it notes with letters, you know, A through whatever, so that I could differentiate because the pattern was a little different on all of them. It had one in there. I know it was listed. I don't know when it fell off, but at some point it fell off. So I relisted it today. So I know it happens. I don't know why. And that's not that old. That was within the last year. So it's not like it was 5 years old and eBay went, we don't need this. It's a relatively new listing. It just wasn't on there anymore. I don't know why.
I mean, I'm sure it probably happens. Can't really recall it ever happening to me, but they got glitches all the time from here to there. So I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, over the years, it's happened to me numerous times. It's always good to do when you're putting items back in your tubs or have your inventory listed. It's always good to do an inventory check. Just do it by tub, and you will find items that are not listed on eBay, unfortunately.
Yeah, and that's something I might eventually have Lynn start doing. Like, with us, we have 6,000. It's gonna take months and months of maybe like hit one a week, as we go through them. But there have definitely been stuff that I see and I'm like, that's really nice. Like, why hasn't that sold? And I'll go search my active and it's gone. And so what I've been doing is bringing it back in. I think I found like 3 or 4 a couple weeks ago. I go bring them back to relist them because it's been so long. They're like, there's no, like, I can't find it at all. And I know for a fact it was listed before. And another thing you've got to watch for is when people buy and don't pay. It seems like it's gotten better that eBay relists it automatically, but sometimes they don't. So if you guys have items that are bought, not paid for, then sometimes eBay is not relisting it, and then it falls off of eBay. And if you aren't really watching like what's bought and not paid for, you would miss that as well. Miss Eileen says, what happens when we go in recession? How is this going to impact us as a reseller, and what have you experienced in the past?
I think it's actually probably going to help. I mean, the secondary market always increases when there's a downturn in the economy. People aren't going to go and buy something new from the store, but they still want the something. So they're going to go somewhere else to buy it. Where is that? That's eBay. That's Poshmark. That's Mercari. So you might have to, some of the things that sell might change, or the price points might change. It might come down, but the secondary market's not going anywhere. It's going to do just fine. It might even improve in a recession or a downturn.
I don't know if I really have any experience in the past, but yeah, Joy is very right. Secondary items become top priority more than new things as you go into a recession when people don't have as much money. Number one. And number two, I think that maybe some of those resellers that came on thinking this was easy in the past couple years as COVID and all this stuff happened, maybe start to fall off because it is still a job, it's work, and it could be harder than most people think it is to do. So I tend to think that happens a little bit as times get a little bit harder. So,
I mean, I would say I look forward to when there is a recession for reselling. And the fact is, you're just going to pivot your business model. So part of my business is I do sell high-end collectibles, like high-end sports cars, comic books. When you're dealing with the very high-end items, the recession doesn't matter to people. They're going to, because other people are paying top dollar for items, they're going to pay top dollar regardless at that point in time. But the good thing when there is a recession, you're going to pivot because that's the time you can actually buy merchandise and get people like during COVID, people lost their jobs. People were frantic. We're trying to just move. I bought so many collections in 2020 that I have a huge warehouse with them right now. I still haven't gotten through my death pile from 2020 because I bought so many different collections at that point in time. I don't have to source for the next year. I can literally just keep listing from my death pile because of that. So when those opportunities do rise, like during recession or during downtime, you can actually get stuff for cents on the dollar. You're just going to pivot your business model at that point in time. But like you said, everyone's going to buy stuff in the secondary market as well because you can get it for cheaper than you will brand new. It's a great opportunity. So I look forward to recessions, to be honest with you, when it comes to reselling.
Yeah, and my husband just took my answer and said the people that have money regardless. So if, like Rod said, and like Brandi's selling $200 Barbie outfits, I guarantee you the person buying a $200 Barbie outfit, the recession's probably not going to hurt them very bad. And the same with like my higher end Yadro and collectible. If they're spending $3,000 on a piece of art, chances are they're not worried about gas prices or grocery prices going up because they are financially stable, which might not be the majority of the population, but that's the time for me where you want to have the used items. Like everybody said, people are going to want to buy used versus buying new. So like that's where I think clothes would go in an upturn. And I don't do a ton of clothes, but I have a couple thrift stores that have them for $1 and I can't not get them for $1. So I do some clothes. I just don't purposely, like if I go there, I'm going to look. I can't resist $1 clothes. And those are good. They might only be 12 or 15, but from $1, I think that's a good profit. So I think clothes, if people can't afford the new ones, the shoes, like you guys were saying, and then the high dollar is what I would be focusing on. But I feel like we almost have been halfway in like with the gas prices going up, the economy has been crap for a little while now. So I think we would have
more of my low dollar stuff selling. Like my little stuff that was filler, that's easy to list. It's like $10 free shipping that you would randomly see sell. In the last month, I've seen a lot more of that going out. Like there's days where I'll ship out 5, 6, 7 of them, where 6 months ago it was 2 of them a day. So I think people that are being hit are buying. They're still out there. They still want to shop. They want that high of buying something online. They're just buying the lower dollar stuff. So lower dollar stuff. And somebody pointed out, what about, older stuff, and I comment in there, nostalgia sells. During a recession, when people are going, man, I remember back 20 years ago when everything was fine. They see that toy that they had at that point, they buy that toy for $45, and they go, well, maybe I can't justify this, but it reminds me of that happy time.
It's an emotional,
really well during these times.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think this is my Lynn. I just want to say that it is Lynn, but this is not my Lynn that's working for me. She wants to know if any of us use the research price. She's saying there's a little pencil under listings under the seller hub, and is that Terapeak?
It might be Terapeak.
Yeah, Terapeak.
I think that's Terapeak, Lynn. I think that's what we were talking about earlier, where they have the 2 years. So I guess we can all answer if we use Terapeak. We talked a little bit about it, but we didn't say like how much or if we're using it.
I do sometimes. Like I bought from a lady over the weekend some Trail of Painted Ponies. I've done really well on those, and I bought one that's particularly rare. I can see there's none. I don't know if there was any currently listed. I don't remember, but I can see what's sold in the last little bit. But I want to see what's the trend. And so I got on and saw, well, the ones that have sold now, look at Terapeak, and some have sold for twice that much a little bit ago. So you can see maybe the people selling them now are just underpricing it. So I priced mine high, and I'm just going to wait for them to sell theirs. So I do use Terapeak on stuff like that. I don't use it on a random baseball hat or a video game. You know, I don't. And I don't list on the computer. So I list on the app. I do almost everything on my phone. So it's an extra step to go to it. I do use it for the rare stuff like Worth Point, but not for everyday common listings.
Yeah, I don't use it. I don't use it either. I've used it when I can, very sparingly, when I could not find something on eBay, Etsy, or Google. When I couldn't find it anywhere, I have gone there to try to search it. But I couldn't tell you the last time I used it.
So I only use it when I find rare items that haven't sold in the last 90 days on eBay. So if an item hasn't sold in the last 90 days, like for example, I just bought a whole collection of slot cars. Someone passed away, and they're all dead stock from the 90s. So a lot of those items aren't listed on eBay and haven't sold in the last 90 days. So I kind of have a monopoly in the market. So I was using Terapeak to go back to see if these did sell. I did find a lot that did sell internationally, but that's the only reason I use it, is just for items that, because if the market changes so much, so going back 2 years is not worth it for me, or going back a year is not worth it for me, unless if I can't find them in the last 90 days. It's the only reason I use it.
Yeah, and I really don't. I'm not going to lie. Like I said, I don't like that they don't have pictures. That's what kind of gets me, because I want to make sure. And it's funny, Troy, right after I started getting back into reselling about 3 years ago, my longest friend, she's been my friend since I was 5. We went to like daycare together. She had a collection of painted ponies, and I actually bought her whole collection. So I learned a ton, but that was about 3 years ago. And I had some higher dollar ones as well. She like redid her decor, and she'd been collecting them for like well over 10 years. And so we learned a ton about painted ponies about 3 years ago. And I haven't found any since then. So I think it's like so specific, but I think that's funny, because that was one of the first things when we first started getting back into reselling that we sold was the painted ponies.
Yeah, this one's going to go for $300, $350. It's a good one.
Someone in the chat,
and I mean, I think probably our highest was like $150. I don't think I had any that high, but I think we had a lot of like $50 ones. And I think I gave her like $10 like per pony. So a little bit more, but we came out perfectly fine.
someone in the chat just asked that everyone drop their eBay stores. They want to check out our eBay store.
I think they were asking us, and I don't know if we want to go around since you said that, like tell them if you guys have links to your eBay stores on your YouTube channel. And everybody's YouTube channels are linked in the description, and the moderators are putting those in chat. So tell them if they can find your eBay store via your YouTube would probably be the easiest.
Yeah, I do. I have it in there. I mean, I can drop the chat, the thing in the chat if we want to, but I have the link to it in my description.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in mine. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in any video you go into, you'll see my direct link to my eBay store.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I moved all mine to Linktree, where you just click Linktree so you can scroll through and find all of my links all in one place, and mine is on my Linktree as well. Nicole says a buyer wants to return an item. He says her pictures inferred depth and thought it was in the box and opened an item not as described. I never mentioned a box or show one though. So she's saying, the buyer's saying she inferred that it was in the box.
I mean, unfortunately, if they opened item not as described, you're stuck. I mean, the eBay is going to force that return regardless. So, there's not much you can do at that point, honestly.
Yeah, people are so weird. It's not in there, and then I guess you just have the return come through, because I think you can actually I don't know. I have eBay concierge, so I talk to them about things like this, and I will call them up and say, "There's no box in the picture. I'm not giving this person the shipping. They can return it. I'll be happy to resell it, but I don't think I should be paying for that."
Yeah,
Right.
I'm the same way. I mean, it's unfortunately it's not much you can really do unless you list it. I mean, if you list is new, then maybe they have a, that's why they're disputing it. But if this is used, you could go through eBay and see, what they will allow you to do. But I would just let them return it, let them pay for return shipping.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, no, but if they open item not as described, they're going to be on the hook for the shipping. So it's not
But
going
then
to.
I would get a hold of eBay.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah,
appeal
you're
to
going to
eBay.
have to get in touch with eBay.
Yeah.
And inferring, like, you don't infer, like, they're pictures, and it sucks because sometimes like color is off in pictures. Like my phone might take a picture of a color different than somebody else's, and I've got stuff back for that. You can try and contact eBay, but they're probably like, unless you get a hold of them real fast, they will force that return.
Mhm.
Well, once a return is open,
If you open not as described, I think they automatically send that label out to them.
Yeah. So you're going to have to contact probably eBay for Business on Facebook, and then they can go into it. They'll ask for like the transaction number or whatever. They'll ask for the things to get to it, and it's luck of the draw. Sometimes I've had people really helpful on there. Every once in a while, you get somebody that's like, "Do you have somebody else? Do you have a friend that works there I could talk to?" But eBay for Business on Facebook, I've had more luck with that than calling. I don't have the special concierge. I'm not a big enough deal. I'm a small fish. But eBay for Business is they're not the people that you just call on the general helpline with a binder that just have, well, this is what I'm supposed to say. They actually have they can actually use a little bit of inference themselves and go, oh, okay, I get it. They're real people. So I've had more help with them than calling on the phone.
Yeah. Did I see a super chat from Richard? Oh, I thought maybe there's more than one.
there's more than one.
Wow.
Oh, okay. Navarre, which is the other Lynn. I'm gonna call you the other cat's Lynn, because there's like 3 cats too. It's like cat, other cat. There's all kinds of cats. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, and I will tell you guys, just responding to check your prices after stuff's been on a while. If I get an offer and it's something that's been listed a long time, I will go recomp it. Like if I think that offer's low, I'm like, let me go see what they're selling for. And sometimes I'll accept them because it's been listed so long, the pricing on the market of what it's selling for has changed. All right, let me give the other Lynn. Your dolphin. Here you go. Richard, dolphin. You didn't say which dolphin, Richard. I'll give Richard the original dolphin. Thank you so much. Happy birthday. It's Richard's grandson's first birthday today. So happy birthday. Enjoy. Looked fun. Richard sent me some pictures from his party. Here is the original dolphin for you, Richard.
Super chat.
Somebody's like jamming in their room. Is it your mom? It was Brooke. I'm like, I hear music from somebody's room too. What happens if you hit out of stock? So does anybody use out of stock, or do you know about it?
No, I don't use it.
Yes, you can get in big trouble hitting out of stock. So depending on what you're selling, for example, if you're selling health and beauty or like medicine and you hit out of stock, it's still listed on eBay. So if it's past the expiration date, you will get your account flagged. As happened
Even
to
if
me.
you have 0 available.
Even if you have 0 available, but you have it listed as out of stock and the expiration is past like today's date, you will get popped by eBay and can get your account suspended. So be very careful for what you're selling if you're going to do out of stock. I've used it a lot of times when I did bulk buys from like Amazon returns. I got tons of supplements and things like that. But that's how I learned the hard way. So just be careful if you're dealing with that stuff.
Wasn't it Lindy Glenn? I think Lindy Glenn got hit for that.
Yeah.
because a
Yeah,
lot
people are
of
really-
not a lot, but I've heard of several people on YouTube that will put that because they don't want people seeing what they're selling, so they put out of stock so it looks like nothing, because if it's marked as out of stock, it doesn't go to your sold items. Like if somebody's searching your store, so people would use that option so people wouldn't see what they were selling. But I think it was Lindy that did a video that got just for what Rod just said, because those expirations were there, and it looked like, even though she had 0 available, it looked like she was selling expired supplement.
She got suspended too, I think, for like 3 days or 5 days at that time. So for
Yeah.
me, I got a warning, so I didn't get suspended, but you will get in trouble for those, so just be careful.
All right. Patty wants to know, do we use dishwasher or the washing machine to wash hats?
I'm washing machine. I use Shout spray and a toothbrush on like tough spots. And this is just the normal dirt, not like this needs some serious work hats. Let it sit, and then I put it in the washing machine on gentle cycle, and then it's dry in the sun. You know, it's a pretty simple procedure, honestly. You can throw some OxyClean in there if you need it, and do a little oxy bath, but
All right, I don't really sell hats, but I'd probably throw them in the washer.
I've actually used the bathtub before as well, and you can actually fill the bathtub up with water, and that's when I do bulk hats. So like he said earlier, he takes his hats and hats and shoes, throw them to the side, and once I get like 20, 30 hats, I'll throw them all in the bathtub, dump a bunch of chemicals in there, and then I will warn you, your bathtub will turn brown and nasty, it looks like, but I'll pull all the dirt out of them, and then you just let them all dry out.
So it's funny, like it sparked a behind the scene conversation here. I actually bought the hat holders that are for the dishwasher, and I didn't know they were for the dishwasher, and I put them in the hat holders in my washer, and it destroys them. Just FYI, if anybody wants to know, do not use the hat holders in the washing machine. So most of the time for me, I wash them in the washing machine. That unless they're higher dollar or like, you know, vintage ones, then I don't wash them at all. I just list them how they are, and they can restore them if they want. Blockhead Art, thanks for the weather report. It's very windy and the moon is very cool. I might, we have 12 minutes left in the show. I can add, we did this when we had camp. I can add my cell phone as another guest, and I can take you guys out on the balcony and show you the water in downtown Key West before we go, since I'm here. So we will have to do that. So here is your dolphin, and Dalton has your kitty cat art on his bedroom door now. So that is where your kitty art is hanging. Here is your dun, 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 dun. J.I. wants to know, out of the 4 of us, who is a full-time reseller?
I am
be
now.
surprised.
Yeah, I am now. I was part-time for like 5 years, but here this spring I've taken the jump to full-time.
I mean, I consider myself part-time. I have other income, but this is pretty much all I do other than the other income. But
yeah, majority of my eBay career I've been part-time, but I am actually officially full-time.
And I am also full-time. I went full-time in February. I think Troy went like a month after me or 2.
I was right I made my video on April Fools just to see what would happen, but I actually officially made I quit my job like a week before that.
Yeah, and I quit in February. So it's coming up on a year that I've been a full-time reseller. So the majority of us are. And it's funny because when we started doing my show, which has been almost 3 years now, it used to be almost all part-time resellers. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is the same people who were part-time resellers then, and now we have moved into full-time. So pretty
moving on up.
Cool. Yep. Miss Bridget says, what percent of your sales do you keep and what percent goes back in the business? So do you have a set amount that you are like making sure you're putting back in for inventory?
I don't really have a set amount. I mean, I do try to pull out roughly 25% to take care of taxes. Like that's the only set percentage point. I want to have that money sitting at the end so that I don't have to use all my fourth quarter money to pay off taxes. But I don't really have a percentage. I mean, I try to spend as little as possible. If there's a big deal, I'm going to make it if it makes sense. But I try to keep the money in there because that's what's keeping the lights on and putting food on the table. So you can't spend it all, and you have to have enough where you can reinvest. So I think it's just you got to feel it out as you go.
Yeah, I and the same. I just pretty much keep it in there and just roll it back in, making sure there's enough for taxes. If I really want to break it down, in quarters or thirds is probably your best way. A third to reinvest in the inventory, a third to keep taxes, a third to keep saved, or budgeting, whatever it is that you're doing this for, would probably be your best bet.
So I'm incorporated and I have an LLC. So I run everything through my business and I have a lot of write-offs and I have a great accountant. So I can't really give you a percentage of my sales and what I put back in the business, but I usually run everything through my business. There's a lot of stuff you can do with an accountant. So I would highly recommend getting an accountant because it will save you a lot of money and you have a lot of extra write-offs.
Yeah. So when it was just me and it was just me, I was doing it part-time. I think it was, we were putting back in like 40%. We would put away 20 to 25 for taxes. And then I would put like 10 to 20 in savings for bigger buys on top of that 40. So almost all of it was when I was part-time. Now I'm also like Rod, like we're incorporated, we're an S Corp. And now I just hired a full-time assistant. So like that percent's gone out the window because I have a pretty decent chunk for payroll weekly now that I'm paying. So and to me, that is putting it back into my business because the employees will help the business grow. But there's no, like, when it was just me, I had a set percent. I think you should figure it out for you because, like, in Florida, we have no state income tax. So it's nice. Like, Rod's in Florida too. So our taxes aren't as high as those of you that have federal and state income tax because we don't have state income tax. So like the percent we put up for taxes might be lower than a percent that you put up for taxes. And I don't know how Rod does it. Like me, whenever I take withdrawals from the business, I put 20% into savings and I never need that much, but that's just like my cushion. The accountant doesn't tell me an amount to do. I just put 20% in. And then once my taxes are filed, we have extra money for more inventory and I'll pull it back out of savings once we file taxes to make sure that I have money to pay taxes because we do have to pay. But most of the time I have a lot more put up than because of the write-offs like Rod was talking about, because we do have a good accountant.
I would say one thing though to add to that is if you're part-time and if you can live off your regular income and if you want to be a full-time reseller, take all that money that you get from your part-time and reinvest that back in the business. Reinvest that because you will set yourself up for success and be able to eventually move to full-time then.
Yeah. So this question, somebody else asked how to take out the scratches on paperweights. I normally just notate them. I don't try and take them out. But Katrina Wilson said she thinks there's a solution on Amazon that will buff out scratches on eyeglass lenses. I don't know if it would work, but I will tell you most paperweights I get are pretty high dollar paperweights. And they're not ones I would want to attempt something that I thought might help. Because if it turned the glass milky, like I wouldn't want to devalue it more than it already was. So I would be very, very careful if you did that. So Dee Dee says, with cash accounting method, when you report the sales amount, how do you account for the postage which is paid to eBay? Do you show the amount eBay deposits or the total money taken in? I'm going to interject before I let everybody answer. And we always say we're not accountants. However, I think it's a week or two from Sunday. I will have an accountant for you. I'm going to go live with Mark 2, Not Your Dad's CPA. And then you can ask an actual accountant your question. So I will schedule that in advance because we get tons of tax questions, especially right now. So Mark has graciously agreed. It will be myself and Mark, and we are gonna come on live. And I'm not answering your questions. I'm gonna defer it to him. So I'm gonna bring you guys a reseller accountant to ask all those questions. But so we can go around, and if any of us use the cash accounting method, you can explain if you can, and if not, then I will say watch for that show.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say watch Mark anyway. Go check out his channel, Not Your Dad's CPA. He's awesome. But yeah, I mean, your postage, as I understand it, and I mean, that's a business expense, no different than buying boxes or tape or bubble wrap. So that's deductible. So you're going to report that because it came into you, but it's also a deduction because it's part of your business expenses.
Yeah, that's the exact answer. You're reporting it, but then you're deducting it as a business expense. So that's how I do it.
When at the end of the year, when eBay sends you your tax form, it actually shows all the money that you were accepted from eBay because you are actually paying for the postage out of your own. So you want to make sure you're tracking that because you do have to write that off to, from your overall expenses.
Yeah, and I agree. And again, make sure, and this is another one that's kind of taxes. This is the last one we're going to take, and then I'll let everybody say bye. And then if you want to stay, and if the guests want to stay, they can stay too. But I will add my cell phone after everybody says their goodbyes, and I will take you guys around and go show you the moon over the water in Key West. All right, so last question. I'm going to add to this question, though. Instead of how do you write off, I'm going to add on do. So how or do you write off tons of items that are sitting on your shelves?
I don't. I mean, I'm the cash method. So when I buy it, that's when I deduct it as an expense. And so it just sits there. I sold a pair of shoes today that I think have been listed for 2 or 3 years. Eventually it's going to sell. And so it's inventory. It doesn't matter if it's a week old or a year old. It's still inventory sitting in my store. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless you're not talking taxes, I mean, you may just be talking, when do you give up on it? And, and say, okay, well, that was a lousy buy. I'm going to donate it. Or if that's what you mean, I generally don't. I list it and forget it. I sell stuff that's 2, 3, 4 years old. I don't know if that's the best way to do it, but that's how I do it, because I'd rather focus on the stuff that I'm listing now and buying, and eventually it's going to sell. If I come across something in a tub that I'm like, I bought this 5 years ago, obviously it's never going to sell, I'll take it out, but I don't intentionally go in and take anything off.
Yeah, I kind of agree there with the cash method. It just as it comes in and it sells, just use that way. And again, a lot of the stuff I buy is bulk, so I mean, I've already made the money back. It really doesn't matter at that point because now it's just all I'm reporting this profit along with that write-off.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I do the cash method. So cash goes out, write it off. Cash comes in, part of my expenses. If you have an item sitting on your shelf for 5 years, you just want to purge it, you can actually take it to Goodwill and they'll give you a receipt, and you can use that for tax purposes as well. So that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but I pretty much leave everything. We have some stuff that's right at 3 years now. As long as I have the space, if I put the work or I paid somebody to list it, I'm going to let it sit there. So that's, as far as me, that is what I do. I wanted to highlight this real quick, and then I will let everybody say bye. Kathy said she picked up like hats after watching my high dollar hat what sold video, and she sold one for $22 after 3 days and paid 50 cents, which that's that's 40 times your money. Like that's an amazing return on investment. So congrats on that. All right, I am gonna make Troy big, let Brandi say bye, let Rod tell you guys what is going on, and then I will add myself from my cell phone and take you for a little tour. Here is Troy.
Yeah. So thanks for coming and hanging out tonight. It's been fun. I love coming, and it's been too long since I've hung out with Kat, so it's been kind of fun to do that. And yeah, come and check out my channel. It's fun. We had a what sold today. I think I'll do a garage sale tomorrow. And Shelly pointed out, where is it? It's over here. It's underneath. It's wherever you have it. The chat. I actually have a second channel that I've recently launched. It's Big Sky Paranormal. I go on ghost hunts. Like I locked myself inside a haunted brothel, inside a haunted jail. It's fun. Nice. It's sort of a side project. It's going to slowly grow, but we have 2 videos on there right now. Me being alone in a haunted place. It's fun. So go check that out. It's Big Sky Paranormal. That's all I got.
Hold on, Brooke was distracting me. Here's Brandi. He's like, I can keep talking, Kat, if you want. All right, here's Brandi.
Well, thanks for having me on again, Kat. As always, I enjoy doing these, answering questions, feeling my reseller legs. You guys can check out my channel if you have any, if you have dolls, toys, or just want to find out some information on how I identify. That's what I do a lot of videos on, to help people identify Barbies and other vintage dolls, which can be tough. So be sure to check that out. I don't do a lot of videos weekly or even monthly. Hopefully I can try to get something new up soon, but I don't really do anything on a regular basis. But the information videos that are up there are still valid, and I do recommend people do look at those to help you guys out, because that's kind of why I started the channel in the first place. So thanks again for having me on, Kat.
Yeah, so I remember the first time I saw Brandi is when Courtney Bolo Buddies used to do her Wednesday, like she used to have Wednesday bolo shows where the audience could share their bolos, and Brandi was on that. So that's how I met Brandi. Rod, what do you have going on?
So I have a YouTube channel, which I put out sourcing videos every week. I have a brand new video that dropped today where I go find some vintage 80s and 90s toys, some records. So check it out. Like, subscribe. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, Picking and Punching as well. If you guys ever have any questions, you need help with something, feel free to reach out to me. I will answer every single question. I'm always here to help. So.
Yeah, and if you haven't subscribed to my new channel, My Cat's Treasure Hunting, I think I'm like 20 away from 6,000 subscribers on that channel. So definitely go over there. And I think I'm only a few away on this channel from 59,000 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed on my 2 channels, check it out. I'm going to add my phone. I was scared to add it while anybody was talking, that it would like overtake whoever was on screen. So let's see. I knew that would happen.
Okay. Oh, no, hold on. I gotta mute it. Okay, I'm gonna make this big. Let's see. Okay, Brad's over there lounged so Brooke's in the kitchen. Dalton and my mother-in-law Brooke's throwing things at me. That's so nice. I can't hear anything either right now. So here's our look.
Oh my gosh.
There's that. And then out here, there was just an ambulance. And so check out the water and the moon. The moon is like amazing over the water. So our horrible, horrible charter was right there at that marina. So it's kind of cool because we're 2 minutes away. But this is the backside of Key West. So it's actually pretty quiet. So Duval Street is about 2 blocks behind us. So we have this lovely, nice, quiet, but really, really pretty on the water. And it comes like, there's my bedroom. So we have really, there's the star of the show. Want to say hi?
There's my guy. What's up, Dalton?
Oh, did you hear him? You're jumping for him? Hi, baby. All right, guys, hold on. I'm going to go back over here and tell you guys bye. There's the birthday girl. She'll be 21 in less than 2 hours. Hold on. I'm going back. Now they're all going out there. Okay, hold on. Let me remove this. Hold on. I don't know. Did that make it go away? No. Whoa. Hold on.
Okay. I'm like, how do I do this? Okay. So that's our, and it's still on my phone. Okay. I think I got it. Now my hair's like all of a mess. Somebody did ask, when was the first year I went to the Keys? So when Brooke was about 5, so that's, oh my gosh, 16 years ago, we used to come 3 to 4 times a year down here. And we went camping on the beaches, which unfortunately the state campgrounds down here were destroyed by Hurricane Charlie, so you can't camp there anymore. But we now hopefully will start coming down here again, because the Keys and the mountains are my 2. Oh, here comes Dalton.
He's gonna tell you what the flag means.
Tell them what the flag means.
What do the stars stand for? There's 50 stars for 50 states. No.
He said, I'm put on the spot. Were you and sister looking at a flag and talking about it? Are you making faces at them? There's a camera. All right. Tell everybody bye. We appreciate you guys coming. I don't have an outro tonight.
Bye.
Bye. Okay. Let me look and tell them who's going to be on. Oh, they can't see you. Do you want to come up here and tell them bye? He's trying to tell you bye.
Bye.
Bye, dude.
See you later, man.
Let me see who's going to be on next week, and I'll tell you guys. We're going to have Upstate Scavenger. Robert is going to be on, and Rebel Reseller is going to be back on. So we will see you guys next week. And I will have, again, it's not this Sunday. I think it's a week from this Sunday. I'll have Mark 2 on to answer your reseller tax questions that we get asked so often. So thank you guys for coming. Tell them bye again.
Bye.
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 Bye, though.